86 every single time an episode ends, all I can do is sit back, think, contemplate, and feel both inspired slash devastated all wrapped up into one. I mean, it's very interesting to look at where the 86 are at with arguably a much healthier lifestyle, but one that is far too similar for comfort. The idea of war and the tragedies of war, it's too built into them. They'll never be able to have a normal life. They just can't. I mean, if they found a way to actually defeat the Legion, and there was truly peace, there was never another battle, I would not be shocked in the slightest with, as the characters stand, if some of them took their own life because they just didn't have anything to live for, because that's how broken they are. But over these 4 episodes of Core 2, we've seen, I think, specifically on Shin's side, war is starting to bother him more. And we're seeing a desire for change. And, I mean, from deaths that clearly are impacting him a lot more than what used to happen, that cold, emotionless stare, the Reaper's gun pointed, to clearly a disturbed boy, to this episode with him and Frederica just really talking, because she clearly has taken a liking to Shin, more so than any of the others. There's clearly a big brother, little sister dynamic going on. If we would have compared Shin in Core 1 with this relationship, had this relationship occurred in Core 1, it would not be the same as what we're seeing in Core 2, because there's clearly a desire for something, and the idea of what he wants in the future is something he's actively thinking about, despite thinking he doesn't need to have anything in his room. It's where he sleeps. There's nothing else to it. But when things are thrown in his face, that's not what a home is. You need to have things to live for. He's thinking about him. He's thinking about the Major. He's thinking about his, honestly, someone who probably impacted his life in ways that this is why we're starting to see this sort of change, right? Lena, and just where she's at, visibly hoping that she's okay. But it's interesting because if this was Core 1, I don't think Shin would be how he's acting with these soldiers and commanders and things like that. Like, look at that scene when they're basically getting a debrief, right? Because Shin submitted his report, what he thought of the models, right? And then she's saying, I want your actual opinion. And after some very entertaining, back and forth about what to name them, he talks about how they're just a coffin that's slightly better than what they're used to. The maneuverability is something they like, but ultimately, these are death traps. They're used to said death traps, but they're death traps nonetheless. And it's interesting because moments prior, you kind of get another debriefing where she's kind of getting her ass handed to her, saying, we don't send kids to war. And I thought, honestly, the direction they were going to entirely take that was that, she was just trying to get a promotion, or she was using the strongest things at her disposal. But when she reveals that, she was not much older than them when she got involved in this type of stuff, and the things that she believed caused people close to her to die was the lack of maneuverability, you start to get a sense of what she's fighting for as well. But it's interesting because these characters have only known war. Shin knows that there's a very real possibility that they're all going to die because the number of Legion approaching, they're not going to be able to prepare for. And you can understand on 2 different counts why they would dismiss an 86, and most importantly, Shin's kind of warning, because they monitor. It's not like the old Battlefield. This is clearly a group of seasoned veterans who prepare, they actually well equipped to the best of their ability, and they continue to make modifications, and they care about the lives of their soldiers. And someone's saying an unrealistic number. 1, he's new, he's obviously a tormented kid in their eyes, so he probably has some form of PTSD, which he does, but they also don't know about this ability, and if they did, as it's pointed out by Raiden in this episode, it's not just the Legion that harvests brains, that he would be a guinea pig for the Republic as well, and it's very sad, because if you really take a step back, there's a path. There's, in theory, a path that Shin could just say, screw the battlefield and try to live a normal life. But there's 2 big issues with that. 1, he doesn't know what a normal life is, so he can't pull himself away from the battlefield. And 2, even if he managed to do so, is there a better soldier on the battlefield than Shin? From what we've seen, no. So he's stuck no matter what. So his only hope that we can kind of see based on his subtle reactions is that he wants to win the war, but if no one's going to take his warnings, I mean, Raiden said it best, you gave a warning that if they take it, they take it, but you don't want to reveal your ability because honestly, they probably would harvest his brains. I mean, there's definitely some good intentions among the higher-ups, but they're not treated as equal, and I mean, very much his brain might be harvested. Though the scene with, I think, Frederica probably is my favorite part of this episode, where she talks about how, like, clearly Shin knows, if you see my protector, someone who's very close to me back in the day, take them out, but don't lose your life over it. And that's probably exactly, Shin hearing a request, he'll go do it. But the fact that she specifically said, your life, giving it up for this dream of mine to hopefully let him rest in peace, is not worth it. None of your lives are worth it. I don't want to see anyone close to me die. It's very interesting how such a young child is taking it upon herself to be a part of something she doesn't need to be, because she wants them to feel safe and secure, and also that's kind of her family at this point. And that's what 86 gets so damn right, is that emotional pain where we didn't see a lick of action in this episode. We saw kind of like debriefing rooms, we've seen standing around, we've seen cafeterias, yet it's as exhilarating as any Juggernaut Legion fight that we've seen, because it really sets in motion that now, every time we approach the next battle, even if it wasn't this devastating number that Shin's thinking is about to approach because he can sense them, it would still make us feel like, is Shin gonna be in the same mindset? Because part of the reason Shin's been so devastating is he moves like a suicidal bastard on the battlefield, right? He very much does things that a normal soldier wouldn't. So if he starts wanting to have a future, that very well could put him at a disadvantage on the battlefield, because he would go from wanting to just destroy to cautiously observing how can he make sure he survives. And how many people would that get killed? If there comes a mission where he does get people killed in his mind because he valued his life, that's gonna hurt even more worse than the PTSD of walking down the street seeing normal people, and the most comforting thing you can think of is the cockpit of a Juggernaut. Like, it's amazing to see how war has affected these characters all in different ways, and it'll be interesting. I mean, we're a third of the way through Core 2, and it feels like the journey and the emotional pain is just getting started. I'm very curious to see what the end result of this battle will be, because it feels like it's going to be more devastating than anyone could probably possibly imagine, even having the kind of hints from Shin himself. I mean, 86 just continues to elevate in different ways, and I don't think there's going to be many 86 fans who will look at episodes like these and say, oh, nothing happened, or it's slow, but rather it's just chock full of so much emotion, and I'm really enjoying the subtle comedy where it is popping up with some sly remarks, like Shin not wanting the gifts because poor children, the 86, he's getting all these child gifts when he wants nothing to do with them, to just the more subtle emotional moments of him just, there's not much to it, but his eyes kind of widen a bit, and he says, in his own mind, you can tell, like, he's thinking, what do I want for the future? And those are the moments that really stick out, and the moments that will stay in my mind when I see him the next time he's on a battlefield, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of future Shin wants to have, or if he's even going to pursue one. But let me know your thoughts and feelings on 86 as always down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.